The tribe of Levi was divided into three different sets of families. Levi's three sons, Gershom, Gahas, and Merari. Those three family members were charged with carrying the various items that were used or that made up the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Last week, we got a listing of the items that the family of Gahas carried. This week's Parsha begins with a listing of the items that the family of Gershon carried, and then the items that were carried by the family of Merari. But wouldn't it have made more sense to combine them all into one Parsha, either the end of last week's Parsha or the beginning of this week's? The answer, according to one commentary, is the following. Gahas had to be listed first because his family members were carrying the most important items in the Mishkan. They got that honor because of their preeminence and their Torah scholarship and their wisdom. The problem, though, was that Gahas was not the oldest brother. Gershon was. So by listing Gahas first, that could be a slight. That could be insensitive to Gershon. And so God ended last week's Parsha after listing Gahas, who has to be listed first. And then this week, the Parsha begins with a listing of Gershon. That's a big honor to lead off in the Parsha. And so through this subtle decision, where to end one Parsha and where to begin the next one, God was displaying the type of sensitivity that we always have to have in our interpersonal relationships. If a man wears tzitzis out, showing, and he goes to a cemetery, he's supposed to tuck them in beforehand so that it doesn't look like he's mocking the dead who can no longer perform mitzvahs like wearing tzitzis. If you're walking past an elderly or infirm person who can no longer or maybe was never able to walk quickly, you can pass them. But when you do so, you're supposed to slow down your pace. Don't fly past them because you might make them feel bad that they can no longer or maybe were never able to walk quickly. If you're speaking to a friend who's not married, and you are, don't talk about your spouse or complain about your spouse when you're speaking to somebody who'd like to be married and is dating but hasn't yet found Mr. or Ms. Right. And if you're fortunate enough to have children, don't talk about or complain about your children to a friend who doesn't have children but who'd like to have them. You're complaining about a problem that person would love to have. As a rabbi once said about people who keep kosher, if only we were as careful about the things that come out of our mouths as we are about the things that go into our mouths, we'd be in much better shape.